I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which I live and work, the Gundungurra land and people. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. I also want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which you, our listeners, are joining us from today. I recognise the deep connection that First Nations people have to this land, their enduring culture, and their commitment to the preservation and care for their country. This land was never ceded, and it always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Hey there, and welcome to Beyond the Surface, the podcast where we explore the stories of people who have survived religious trauma, left high control or cult communities, and are deconstructing their faith. This is Beyond the Surface. Welcome, David. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Whereabouts in the world are you? Canada?
Yes, I'm in Eastern
Yes.
Canada. So yeah, I'm on
Amazing.
the Atlantic side of the country. Yeah.
Okay. Is it fairly chilly over there at this point?
It's cold.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It is warm here. So,
Oh,
it's like, yes. It's always interesting talking to people in the US and Canada over sort of Christmas and New Year's because it's freezing over there and we're all like sweating.
yeah.
But I love winter, so I'm a little bit jealous.
Oh,
Um,
well, I'm getting tired of winter.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Now, most people would know you as the Naked Pastor on social media and on the online. But I can assure people who are listening, you are not naked. Um,
No.
where did the Naked Pastor come from?
So the name Naked Pastor, I could tell you
Mm,
where I came from, or Naked Pastor, but Naked Pastor, I bought the URL nakedpastor.com back in 2006, I think it was.
mhm.
And it was during the time when the Naked Chef, the Naked Archaeologist, the Naked Truth, all that was kind of cool.
Yep.
And I was a pastor at the time and I had begun blogging. And I wanted my blog to be really totally honest about what goes on in the ministry and in the church and in Christianity. And it was just going to be real and raw and bare and honest.
Mm.
And so that's what the naked stands for. It doesn't stand for anything inappropriate.
Yeah.
It stands for me being very, very honest about what I see going on in the ministry and in the church and
Okay.
in the faith. Yeah.
Naked in truth. I like that.
Yeah. A lot of people don't like that.
Yes, I mean it's good, but truth is hard to hear sometimes, I guess. So, it can be confronting.
Mm.
Um, so where does your story start? With faith, with life? Where does that start for you?
I grew up in a Christian home,
Mhm.
um, and we moved around quite a bit, and so we weren't faithful to any one denomination. But when I was a teenager, I got born again, and we started going to a Baptist church.
Okay.
And then we switched to a Pentecostal church, and then I went to a Pentecostal Bible college. That's where I met my wife, Lisa.
Mhm.
Then I went to an evangelical seminary, Gordon Conwell in the US. And, um, from there, I went into the Presbyterian church
Mhm.
and stayed in the Presbyterian church. I got ordained there and everything and served the Presbyterian church for quite a while. And
Yeah.
then switched to Vineyard, which a lot of people might not know what the Vineyard is, but it's kind of like Hillsong. So if you've heard of Hillsong and its style,
Yeah.
that's what the Vineyard is very much like.
Mm. I actually, I think I know Vineyard based on their music,
Yeah.
like music from Vineyard Church.
Yeah.
But so lots of different denominations, that's and a
Yeah.
lot of different ways of doing church.
Yeah, I call myself my own ecumenical movement. It's like I say, like we moved around a lot and we weren't devoted to any one denomination or kind of church. And so we just went to where it was convenient or what we liked. And so I never had a sense of loyalty to any one denomination or one theology or, whatever. I really did float around a lot. So I think that was good for me. And I think it helped me be more it helped me gravitate towards churches that I thought were good for me and my
Mm,
family and so on. And I wasn't stuck in any kind of a certain church or denomination. So that was very liberating for me.
yeah.
And yeah, I appreciate that. Mm.
Mm. What was it like growing up in a religious home for you?
So it wasn't so much religious as it was conservative, maybe.
Okay.
Like we would visit churches here and there, and I didn't learn until later in life that my mom and dad got born again at a Billy Graham crusade in Toronto.
Oh,
And
wow.
but they were conservative and spiritual and believers, I would say. But I grew up in a home where, there was my dad was British,
Mm,
and he was very much into like uh um the Templars and uh the Lost Tribe of Israel and
mm.
the British Israelites and Jewish eating, like dietary laws. And like my dad was very kind of like that. And he
Okay.
would have books in the house like about other like gods, like what was that book? Gods, where talking about crop circles and the pyramids and all these
Ah,
mysteries in the world, and a lot about like demons and all this stuff, angels and end times, apocalyptic literature. And so I got introduced to a bunch of that stuff, but also C.S. Lewis and this kind of thing. So it was kind of a mixed bag where my dad was a reader and curious, and as a result I was too. But it
yeah.
was quite a broad, what we'd say religious sort of a thing.
Mm.
um yeah, it's kind of strange.
Hugely broad, hugely broad. I mean, from
Yeah.
crop circles to C.S. Lewis, you wouldn't
You
usually
know,
put them in the same home.
no wonder I'm such a weirdo.
I mean, it's the breadth of I guess knowledge that you would have been exposed to as a child would of course that's going to naturally provide a space for curiosity and learning.
Yeah. Yeah, well, my dad was very into, I wouldn't say conspiracy theories, but theories
I-
that ideas.
yeah.
So, with different Russian leaders being the Antichrist, or you know, different things like that. Like what got me saved
Mm,
was I was scared into the kingdom because of end time
mm,
theology and being left behind.
yeah.
Like that whole left behind stuff
Mm,
had a profound effect on my life.
okay.
And and then my dad was interested in demons, and I've been to exorcisms and you know all this kind of stuff, and workshops and late great planet Earth, and Satan's alive and well on planet Earth, and
Oh,
all this kind of stuff. So
oh,
yeah, I had quite an upbringing. But like
yeah.
I said, on the other hand, I was surrounded by like encyclopedias and C.S. Lewis and authors like that as well.
Mm,
So it was interesting, to say the
yeah.
least.
And
Hmm.
I'm sitting here going, how does somebody who is surrounded by that end up, being born again? But like you said, fear does tend to, put the fear motivates us. So
Yeah.
so Yeah. When did that fear sort of come to its peak and you, as you say, were born again?
I would have been about 15 or 16 years old.
Okay.
And, I was surrounded by hellfire and brimstone kind of preaching at
Yeah.
that time with the Baptist church. And this guy was into demons and exorcisms and all this Baptist pastor and end time stuff.
Mm,
And, we watched all the Left Behind stuff and um what was it called? Left Behind? Anyway, it wasn't called Left Behind at that time. There was something, a precursor to that, but it was all about being left behind and, um, focus on the Middle East and
yeah.
events that were happening that seemed to be ushering in the end times. And yeah, so it, it terrified me.
Yeah.
Really honestly was one of those who was profoundly uh, terrified of being left behind or,
Mm.
coming from school, nobody was home and assuming that the rapture had taken place.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that there is even, I mean, most Christians are taught the doctrine of hell because it's sort of at the core, but the rapture is an entirely different sort of scenario almost to that concept of, waking up and there being no one there, or like you said, coming home from school and no one being there.
Yeah.
I'm lucky that I, and this statement has probably never come out of my mouth. I'm lucky I was only sort of taught the doctrine of hell, not rapture, because, that concept of being left behind would be terrifying for a young person, for a
Mhm.
child to hear that. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. At what point did it go from, I mean, obviously it came out, it was born out of fear, obviously, but how did that then turn into um, theological college and being a pastor? How did that happen?
I think like as I grew up and we ended up switching to the Pentecostal church and there you have another whole bag of tricks
Yes.
with speaking in tongues and
Yeah.
miracles and healing and
Yeah.
prophecy and all that stuff. But the music was cooler
Yeah.
and you know things like that. And we got a new pastor who was young and he was really cool. In fact, you know, my mom just died a few weeks ago,
Oh.
and at the funeral, this pastor showed up with his wife,
Mm.
and uh, like he was instrumental in my life because he was cool, he was hip,
Yeah.
and it was cool to be a believer, be a Christian, and he also read and he also wrote, and he had shows and everything on like the Vision TV and things like this, and in fact, he was the one who gave Lisa and I our very first premarital counseling session. And so Lisa and I have been married now for 43 years, going on 44 years. And so I said, well, Pastor, it must have worked.
Yeah.
So and so through him and his ministry, I found myself interested in furthering my education. So I applied to a Bible college
Mm.
and I started actually as a music major and then switched to theology. And then, I got into the Greek and the Hebrew and the all that stuff. And
Yeah.
then that got me interested in New Testament studies. And I decided to go to Gordon Conwell, where there was some top shelf New Testament scholars. And I got in there. And at this point now, I was starting to drift away from Pentecostalism
Okay.
and conservative theology and Pentecostal things.
Mm.
And I ended up serving as an assistant at a Presbyterian church, and I got interested in Reformed theology, and I ended up getting another degree to the equivalent of an MDiv, Master of Divinity,
Mm.
so I could serve as a pastor. But I got very interested in Reformed theology, and so that's how it all developed. It was all very slow.
Yeah.
Um, development of my theological world. And then, now I wouldn't call myself a Reformed theologian at all. I still appreciate many Reformed theologians and so on, but I wouldn't say that's my camp anymore. But, that it was instrumental in me developing my own spirituality and theological thinking for sure.
Mm. I'm so sorry about your mom.
Oh, thank you.
I've
Yeah,
been,
I
I've,
really
yeah, I,
could.
I obviously have been, I saw it on social media. It's always hard, regardless of, how, when it happens. Grief is hard. So I'm sorry.
Thank you. She
Oh,
was 7. She lived a long life, but she went very quickly, which on the
yeah,
one hand, uh, is a blessing because she would have hated it, a
yeah.
long drawn out thing. So
Mm,
it was a blessing that way, but it was also shocking that she went so quick. And she was the kind of person that, I could call up at any time and we could just chat about anything. And
yeah,
so I'm really going to miss that.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Which is weird because she is very conservative, but she loved my work.
Yeah.
Secretly, I think on the surface she was conservative, more conservative to keep dad happy. I think deep down inside she was a little more liberal.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
but
A little more rebellious inside.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, what were you like as a pastor?
I think I was a pretty good pastor actually. Like I said, I always gravitated towards churches that um, I felt were going to provide me
Mm,
with a place where I could grow, where I felt free to grow. I never went in with the idea of a top-down kind of a structure to church ministry. I always imagined myself as walking alongside the people and us growing together.
yeah.
And um, so I fortunately I found churches that were very much like that, of course I still had to wrestle with the idea of ministry that many people had in their mind
Mm,
that I should be up there, sort of like a priest over the people, and so on. But I was more like down at their level and us exploring and discovering together.
mm,
And that was always my style.
yeah.
And um, to the point where the last church I served, which is not far from here, a vineyard church, I served it for about 15 years, and it was very much like that. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I've seen pictures uh, of shepherds with their flocks, and I've seen some that really, really impressed me, where the shepherd really walks with the sheep. He's not out front leading them like sheep, you
Yeah.
know, they'll find their own way.
Mm,
Shepherd is walking with them or even behind them,
yep.
and he's looking out for danger, looking out for animals, looking out for poisonous weeds, looking for water,
Mm,
looking for shelter, all the, but it's very much walking together. Now, the sheep analogy falls because, sheep are stupid, and I don't believe people are stupid. And,
yeah.
so there's that. But the
Yeah.
idea of walking along with your people
Mm,
and just with them, and you've been trained, and hopefully you have the wisdom required to know where the pitfalls are in spiritual development and growth, and how to help people and help guide them and walk alongside them in their spiritual journeys. And that's what I did.
yeah.
And that's what I continue to do now online, though,
Mm,
after I left. Yeah.
yeah. And so I obviously, have been following you for a little while. And so I know very well that you are very queer affirming and inclusive. And so how was that navigating that as a pastor of a church?
I It never became a thing until the last church I was at. Now, I've had gay friends. I've met and had conversations with, and members who were trans,
Mm,
and so on. But for me, it was never, no, you're excluded or anything like that. I wrestled with it in my head theologically. How
mm,
does this line up? But
yeah.
I never let it affect my relationships with them or
Mm,
anything like that. It wasn't a real big deal because I was mostly a country pastor of small churches
okay.
where you know it wasn't really a thing that I knew of.
Yeah.
But in the last church I was, there were gay people who would come,
Mm,
and I knew. Like, I remember one lesbian couple said, "We can, or would we be welcome at your church?" I said, "Absolutely, yes, please come." And they came, and I looked out and I noticed them holding hands, and I go, "Well, here we go." I knew, here we go.
yeah.
So it was one thing to ideologically say we're affirming and accepting. It's another thing when you see it and feel it and you're there physically. So, and the vineyard, unfortunately, I think I got out. I'm glad I got out when I did, because it wasn't long after that that the Vineyard Church in Canada voted to be not affirming. Like, they actually voted no.
Right.
And I'm glad I'm not a part of that.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's I whenever I talk to queer people about their experiences in the church, I will often say, and this is often, from my own experience and my wife and I's experience, that welcoming is not always safe when it comes to a church, or welcoming is not always affirming, because the theory of saying that we're welcoming and all are able to come is not always what it is in reality.
Mm.
So it's, yeah, that's a
Oh, I
difficult.
didn't know you were in a same-sex relationship
Yeah,
marriage. That's
yeah.
cool. Great.
I mean, it's one of your favorite, one of my favorite artworks of yours is the Love Over Verses one.
One of
Um,
my
yeah, because and I think I love it because one of the most heartbreaking parts of my story is that, people who were my family chose theology and scripture over me. And so I think that's why I love it the most. But so
story.
how does a pastor become not a pastor? Because, and I've spoken to a few, and um my supervisor here in Australia is Matt Glover, who I'm pretty sure you know.
Oh,
Yeah.
he was a
Um,
cartoonist too. Is he still cartooning?
Yes.
Okay.
A little bit, but not as
Yeah.
much as what I think he used to be. But yeah, so
Oh,
uh,
hi.
yeah, small world.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm always really interested to know what leads a pastor to not become a pastor anymore, because that's a big
Well,
deal.
I've got um so, along with me not feeling like I needed to be loyal to any one denomination,
Mm.
I have discovered through the grapevine that my contract has not been renewed. That was one
Uh,
time. Another time, I uh, um, w- was fired.
mm,
Another time, I just quit.
yeah,
And then another time, the last time, I quit.
right.
So the times I was fired twice, because I decided to take a stand against what I thought was control issues in the church. And so I was abruptly fired from both of those ministries. The times I quit, the first time, I was invited to go plant a Presbyterian church. And I thought, this is great because I can start from scratch and I can turn this create a church I think will be amazing and I will enjoy and
Mm.
everybody will love. And so I started this church, and within 2 years, it was the most boring church on the planet. I hated it.
Oh
It just
no.
it was a Presbyterian church, and all the lapsed Presbyterians came out of the woodwork and infiltrated the church and decided to make it a good old Presbyterian church. I
Mm.
hated it. I hated my job. But it led to one of the most profound moments of my life, because one night I was going to bed. Lisa is there. Our three kids, our little kids, are sleeping. And I felt so depressed, so down, so hopeless, so trapped. And because, they're providing our housing, our vehicle allowance, my salary, our kids were in school,
Yeah.
everything. I felt so trapped, and I thought, I have to do this for the rest of my life. Like I hated it. And I went to sleep completely depressed and hopeless.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I had a dream, and in this dream, all I heard was the voice that said, "It's time."
Mm.
And I I woke up laughing
Oh,
hysterically. And Lisa woke up and she starts laughing, and the kids come running in and they jump on the bed and they're laughing, like, "What's so funny? What's so funny?" I said, "I'm not trapped at all. We can just quit. I can
yeah.
just." And Lisa said, "Okay, let's do it." And so I quit, and we went on and began one of the greatest adventures of our lives. So what that taught me was I wasn't trapped. I was just afraid of being free because it was going to
Yeah.
be risk. It was a huge, huge lesson for me.
Mm.
And I also learned that when you take a risk to take care of yourself like that, somehow the earth rises to meet your feet, somehow.
Yeah.
So then in 2010, I was facing the same kind of thing where I was realizing, I was developing, my theology was developing, my philosophy, my style of ministry, and people were becoming more and more uncomfortable with, does your pastor believe in God anymore? And I realized, okay, my time's up. I can feel it. Plus, head
Uh,
office was telling me that they would like to see me run my material through them first. For
ah.
And I was like, okay, no, and I would have felt trapped normally, but I knew I'm not trapped. I
Mm.
can just walk away. And so I did. I
Yeah.
walked away. And because what's most important to me is my personal freedom to be my most authentic self. And I
Yeah.
want that freedom for everybody else,
Mm.
including LGBTQ plus people.
Yeah.
And so I walked away, and I decided to see if I could make Naked Pastor a full-time gig, and
Mm.
it had been in existence for 5 years at this point. And so I put all my efforts into Naked Pastor, and here we are.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
I love the earth will rise to meet your feet. That's beautiful.
it's an
That,
Irish,
yeah.
may the earth rise to meet your feet, I think is some kind of a toast or a Irish blessing or something.
Yeah. It's almost like you had like a full circle experience with fear because you started out by sort of, coming to the Christian faith around fear because, fear of the rapture. And then there was this realization of freedom that you weren't trapped. It was just fear of the unknown and fear of
Yeah,
what the risk could bring.
yeah.
And so it's just like this nice full circle of the understanding of the concept of fear almost.
Here, man, the church,
Yeah.
the church, people think I'm an enemy of the church. I'm not. I am an enemy of some of its ways and methods and ideas, and
Yeah.
uh, um, those it hires to perpetuate its agenda or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, the church is an expert in weaponizing fear.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Yeah. So I fight against that a lot. Like my work has kind of a double edge to it. One is where I really encourage people to find the freedom to be their most authentic self.
Mm,
The other edge is I'm going to fight tooth and nail against anybody or
mm.
idea or institution that tries to limit that freedom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm brutal when it comes to that,
Yeah.
as you know, in some of my cartoons.
Yeah.
And but I'm very encouraging and validating and affirming to those people who are trying to, live free
Mm.
and be authentic. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think I will often say, I'm not anti-God, I'm not pro-God, but I am anti-fundamentalism and
mhm.
imposing on human rights. And so I think, that sort of sounds a little bit like what you're saying as well, is that it's about the systems that are there that are often the issue and the harm there. Um,
So much, yeah, so
yeah,
much harm, and it's almost like it's gotten almost ridiculous.
yeah,
Or,
absolutely.
the church, you would think, would aspire to be inspired by the Sermon on the Mount, let's say.
Mm,
But people are even now saying, that's too woke. That's too
yeah,
woke.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not into woke. And they actually do the opposite.
Mm,
It's actually,
yeah.
I've been reading Bell Hooks lately and how um, she says at one point where it's actually become admirable to
Mm,
not share,
yeah,
not help other people.
yeah.
And and so it's like it's become the actual opposite,
Mm,
where the church is willing to condone and even use violence,
mm,
discrimination, uh, greed,
mm,
all the bad things.
yeah.
And it just baffles me.
Mm,
I don't get,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah, cognitive dissonance there.
absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, the ability to say you are following the teachings of Jesus and then sit under a message of hate and then go out and perpetuate that hate. How does that even make sense anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think it doesn't. I think that, I tend to go with, sometimes if I try and make it make sense, it can almost sound like I'm trying to water it down or make it more palatable, or, it doesn't make sense. It's at times stupidity and ridiculous. And at
yeah.
times I go, if I don't laugh, I'll cry because it's just insane.
Can I say one more
Yeah,
thing?
of course.
Today, New York Times was doing an interview for an article, and they interviewed a whole bunch of um, Trump supporters, evangelicals,
Yeah.
evangelical Christians, and why they're not going to church anymore. And you want to know why?
Why?
Their savior now is Donald Trump.
Oh my
They
gosh.
actually say, we don't worship God, we worship Donald Trump. He's
Oh,
our savior. Capital S,
oh my
savior.
gosh.
It's like, that's quite a leap, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Oh, it's huge. It's like a universe-sized chasm. Oh my goodness. And terrifying. That's like when you said it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's terrifying for that to be the reality of some people. Um, Oh,
Yeah.
I feel like that could be a whole other conversation. Um,
Hmm.
but what was your personal deconstruction journey like? What did that look like for you?
To anybody looking at me from the outside, it was very peaceful.
Now I know deconstruction is anything but peaceful.
So, so okay, so I graduated from seminary the first time when I was about 25 years old.
Mm.
And it was on the day of graduation. Now, I'd already done all my papers, submitted all my documents, everything, and I was just waiting for graduation day. And, my parents came, Lisa's parents came, and I was graduating with my master's cum laude in New Testament studies.
Mm.
But I had some time. So we had gone down to Harvard Coop and we're doing some shopping and I noticed a book on a shelf. And I just picked it up and bought the book. It sounded interesting. And I had some time to do some leisurely reading
Mm.
and nothing that was required. It's not required. I've already completed all my required reading. So people are going to ask you, what was the book? What was the book? So I'm going to tell you. The author was James Breach, and it's a tiny little book, and it was called The Silence of Jesus.
Oh.
So he was a professor at York University in New Testament Studies in Canada, in Toronto. And this was back in the 80s, okay? And I don't think the book was an important book, didn't make a big splash or anything, but it just attracted me. I
Mm.
read the book and it killed me.
Oh,
It
no.
killed me. Because like I had been up to that point a bibliologist, like I was Bible, 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 Bible. I
Mm.
still got I still got Bibles from when I was
Wow.
a teenager with all the colored margins and colored
Yep.
crayon and underlining and writing in the margins and all that kind of thing. And then I took 4 or more years of Greek. I took 2 years of Hebrew. I took a year of Aramaic,
Oh my.
all the biblical languages. And so I was in deep
Mm.
in the Bible. But I read this little book and it made me wonder if the Bible was inspired.
Oh wow.
If it was inspired, if it was inerrant, and I I was devastated.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I said, "Oh, it's not inspired." I wondered if it was.
Yeah.
So
Even just the
I was
question.
so devastated. I actually had my graduation gown on in the bedroom, getting ready to go, and I was freaking out. And Lisa actually had to grab me by the shoulders and say, "You have to go to your graduation ceremony."
Mm.
And that's where my deconstruction began, right
Oh,
there. And then, fast forward now, how many years? 85, 95, 2005, 2015. We're getting close to 40 years
yeah.
where I've decided deconstruction is a way of life. I'm
Yes.
going to keep on deconstructing until the day I die. And so for me, it was just the planting of a question. It was like corrupt computer code
Mm.
that got in and just started doing its work of unraveling all of my certainties and all
Mm.
of my dogmas and all of my assumptions and opinions and conditioning.
Yeah.
Through Buddhism in there for you. All of my conditioning,
Yeah.
logical, spiritual, religious, church, all that.
Mm.
And so here I am deconstructing on the inside, very, very slowly, like a glacial melt, but ministering at the same time. And so that's why I found it very necessary for me to gravitate towards churches where I felt I had that space to do that.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to find places where I could ask questions from the pulpit and say, I'm struggling with this, and I know people here are too, and let's talk about this. And so yeah, my deconstruction was like that, where it just that's where it started.
Yeah.
Um, and then it just did its work over the decades.
Mm.
Now, some people, I don't know about you, but I know some people who deconstruct overnight. It's like, I was duped, it was all bullshit, I'm done,
Yeah.
bye.
Yeah. I don't know how that would even look. I don't think I've ever met somebody who has deconstructed overnight. I probably would agree with you. I'm not sure that deconstruction is a destination. I don't know that you
No,
just
it's not a
arrive.
destination.
Yeah, I don't think that you, in the same way that when I talk about healing, healing is not a destination. It's it's a process. It's a journey. I hate the word journey, which, but, it is.
Yeah,
It's just like you said, a way of life.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what was it like deconstructing before deconstruction was like it's a very hot word and a very trendy word. What was it like deconstructing before it was a thing to do?
So, in 2008, I was reading a French philosopher, Jacques Derrida,
Mm.
and he actually invented the word deconstruction,
Wow.
the French version, but
Right.
deconstruction. Uh, but he invented the word.
Yeah.
But I was invited to go to a workshop where we were all given a bunch of textbooks on hermeneutics,
Mm,
how to study the text, the Bible. And in all those books was a lot of talk about deconstruction. And
mm.
the whole point of it was to show us the error of deconstruction. But I became a convert. Like it actually,
Yeah.
it made sense to me. It perfectly
Yeah.
described what I was experiencing. And so I co-opted the word.
Mm,
Innocently, naively, I started using the word deconstruction of my beliefs way
yeah.
back in 2008, 2009. I've got the receipts because it's actually in my blog. And so then when I left the ministry in 2010, I actually had people calling me, you sound like a deconstructionist
No.
and stuff like that. And then in 2012, I started my online community called The Lasting Supper, where I actually invited people who were experiencing the deconstruction of their beliefs and their faith,
Mm,
uh, a safe place to do that. And and so I just, you know what? I just grabbed a word that described a universal human experience of
yeah.
questioning your beliefs, which has happened all down through history as long as humankind has been on the planet. We've
Yeah.
always questioned our beliefs, always. I just use the word deconstruction to label it instead of backsliding
Yeah. Oh my
or
goodness.
being of the devil or
Yeah.
whatever. So I started using the word way back in 2008 or nine and to just label something that has been going on for centuries. Now, it used to be in the old days, even in my lifetime, that you could be in a church, and if you started questioning your beliefs, you had two choices. One was shut up
Mm,
so you can stay,
yep.
or if you started voicing your thoughts, you would be either forced out or kicked out or made uncomfortable and feel like you needed to leave or whatever, marginalized.
Yeah.
And but things started changing in
Mm,
my lifetime where people were becoming more and more vocal and starting to realize, you know what, I don't need you. I don't need the church. And especially during COVID, it that ramped up
yes.
big time, where
Yeah.
I actually don't need the church.
Mm,
And so yeah, deconstruction has become a thing now.
mm,
I think people are using the word wrongly,
mm,
uh, weaponizing it
mm,
like like they always do and making it a bad thing, an evil thing. They're
mm.
calling people deconstructionists
Yes.
and talking about deconstructionism.
Yeah.
And as soon as you do that, then you've isolated the gene
Mm,
and you can persecute it.
yeah.
And so that's what I see happening that's distressing me right now.
Yeah, there is. I mean, it doesn't take long, right? It doesn't take long for somebody to take terminology or something and use a way to suit their agenda that they're wanting.
Mhm.
So, um, but I mean, I think there are so many. I actually don't tend to use the word deconstruction a whole lot. Um, I tend to
Mhm.
use the word detangling, but it is just a bit of it's semantics. They all mean the same thing. They all mean questioning, pulling apart, looking at it from different angles, all of those things.
Oh,
But it doesn't take long for groups of people um, to weaponize something for their own agenda. Um,
well, I have another analogy I like that I use, and I call it Marie Kondoing your faith.
oh, that's
So,
great.
for Marie Kondo is the
Yeah,
Japanese minimalist who's I just adore her. I think she's amazing.
yeah.
And she became a sensation because what she encouraged people to do was to go through all your belongings and anything that didn't spark joy, you got
Mm,
rid of. Do
yeah,
that with beliefs. Do that with your faith.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
declutter and don't buy new shit. Like just
Yeah,
declutter.
I
Um,
love that.
yeah,
Yeah,
so Marie Kondo in your faith. Yeah.
yeah. What brings you joy and peace? What sparks your joy?
Love.
Oh,
That's serious though.
yeah.
I had a revelation, it was like a revelation. I don't like using that word because it sounds like I was visited by some divine thing. What I mean was my eyes were open to that love is everything.
Yeah.
And I made a commitment. In fact, I posted it online that I choose love. I
Mm,
choose love. That's quoting Martin Luther King Jr.
yeah.
But I choose love, and it's all about love. And I believe in an ethic of love.
Mm,
And love is nothing unless it's manifested in policy. That's what
mm,
I'm saying.
yeah.
And action. Love
Mm,
is what love does. That's
yeah.
another. I think that's Bell Hooks said that.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's what's become most important to me. And I start with myself
Mm,
and my wife and my children and my
yeah.
friends and my online community and my haters and my enemies and everything. It's all about love
Yeah.
because love is indiscriminate. I
Mm,
compare it to, well, I didn't start this, but like um, it is said in the Gospels that Jesus said that justice is like rain and like sunshine. It falls on everyone. It's indiscriminate.
yeah.
If they knew gravity back then, he might have used gravity as an example as well. It draws everybody. It's not discriminate.
Yeah.
It's indiscriminate.
Mm,
That's what love is. And the people who think love is you're allowed in. Oh, no, you're not allowed in. That's not love. That's discrimination. That's not an expression of love.
yeah.
Um, so I choose love, and I'm trying to practice that from the center out
Mm,
and include everybody.
yeah.
And yeah, that's what brings me joy. And so from the day-to-day thing, like Lisa and I are madly in love still. And
Mm,
so we just love being together and love doing
mm,
things together and going on little trips or going on walks with our dog or,
mm.
just being together and talking. And that to me, and as we got to spend Christmas together with our three kids.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, that was down in Colorado. We
Mm,
all met there and like it's just there we are drinking nice wine, listening to
mm,
good music, cooking good food and laughing and talk. What can be better than that?
mm.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And then meeting people and loving people and helping people. That to me brings me so much joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping I'm not sort of like crossing over in what I've seen on social media. It's your artwork that's love without all the fine print, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
what
that's what
that's
yeah.
yeah. So that's what I hear, when you're talking about that is love without all the fine print.
Yeah.
It's without all of the little like without the little asterisk that says you need to read all of these conditions and all of these it's
I love that.
without the terms and conditions that nobody ever reads when they sign up to something or when they purchase something.
Yeah.
It's without all of the terms and conditions. So I love that.
The story of I think about this every day because I get it every day.
Mm,
The Good Samaritan, and Jesus
mm,
tells a parable of the Good Samaritan.
yeah.
And in response to the question, when he says, love your neighbor as yourself, and they say, but who is my neighbor?
Yeah.
Aha, gotcha, gotcha. What if my neighbor's
Technicality.
Hitler? What if my neighbor's Hitler?
Yeah.
What if my neighbor's gay? What if my neighbor's trans? What if my neighbor's black? What if my neighbor's, whatever?
Yeah.
And so whenever I say, and I say this every day, something like that,
Mm,
love is love, or love over verses, or love is all, or um, love without the fine print,
mm,
immediately somebody might say, what about Hitler? Or
mm,
what about the MAGA? Or what about this? Or what about that? It sounds like you're saying, but who is my neighbor? You're trying to get out of it. You're trying to
yeah.
get out of it. So I think that's the challenge for me. I'm not saying it's easy,
Mm,
but that's what love is to me. It's just, yeah. It's like the rains, like the sun, it's like gravity, it's indiscriminate, and everybody gets some.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. How do
Yeah.
you how do you deal with uh, the hate that you would get online from people? How do you deal with that?
I have a little story to tell you. Happened today where I posted a cartoon. Uh, it had to do with love, obviously.
Mm,
But anyway, somebody said, this is stupid. So, and that was all he said. So I normally I just scroll past. I don't respond at all. That's the best strategy for me is just ignore, move on. If it's hateful to somebody, if
mm,
they're hateful towards me, I'll leave it up. But if they're hateful towards somebody else, I'll delete it.
yeah.
If they persist, I'll block them.
Mm,
But he said it's stupid. And so I thought, why would somebody say that?
mm,
Like, so I looked at his profile picture, and there he is, a young man, good looking man with a beautiful wife, three beautiful children, smiling.
mm,
I'm thinking, there's a young man who's on fire for his theology. Like he just, you know, and he's trying to do the right thing.
yeah.
And if I was in his brain with what he's experienced and been taught and all that, I might have said the same thing.
Mm,
So I think that's what love does. It doesn't mean you don't try to um, uh, use teachable moments or protest or stand up for rights, or it doesn't mean any of that. And just because love is indiscriminate doesn't mean it doesn't practice discernment. Those two things are different. But it softened my heart immediately and made me realize, this guy, I bet a lot of people, and this is true too, a lot of people come to me later on and say, I was really hard on you back then. I hated everything you did, and now I'm your biggest fan.
yeah.
And that happens a lot.
Mm.
So everybody's on I was going to say spectrum. I don't mean autism. I mean everybody's
Yeah.
on the spectrum of
Of
spiritual
life.
growth,
Yeah.
and to have grace for that and love that.
Mm, yeah. And I think that anybody who has gone through deconstruction, there is, well, for me personally anyway, I look back on the me from a decade ago and I would have hated the me I am right now because the me from 10 years ago would have you know, called out the stuff that I'm posting, would have said religious trauma, that's not a thing. And I would have been that person. And so for me, there's always an element of like, don't forget where you came from almost. Don't forget don't forget the asshole that you were, essentially, like, and I mean, and that comes with great pain because of the harm that I perpetuated and the system that I held up as well. But that's just all part of deconstruction and sort of unraveling that journey. But yeah, um,
Mhm.
I think it's important to not forget the humanity in a human when you look at them, regardless of what they're spilling out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and love doesn't mean enabling, right? So
No, no.
it still means calling out all of those things, but it doesn't mean
Yeah,
you.
like if there were a real person in my living room,
Mm,
and they were talking in ways people talk to me, I would say, I'd like you to leave because,
yeah.
I can handle it, but it's really upsetting everybody.
Mm,
And you're not welcome back until you learn how to uh, behave
yeah, and be
and
respectful. Yeah.
be respectful of others. And so um, I just sort of imagine myself, uh, you know, treating people as I would treat them face to face.
Mm,
And I'm most diligent on my Instagram account. The other accounts, it's hard. It makes it harder, like Twitter or X now. You can't
yes.
delete comments and stuff, so it's very, very difficult to moderate
Mm,
community there. But Instagram still gives you quite a bit of ability to moderate a community and keep it as safe as possible. So if people are bad mouthing me, that's one thing. But when they express hate or
mm,
violence or anything towards another person or a group, yeah, I delete them immediately, and I don't feel one iota of badness about that or
yeah.
regret
Yeah.
because you're keeping a room safe, and you're not saying you're an evil person, you're gone forever. It's
Mm,
like, look, you can't talk that way
yeah.
here,
Yeah.
uh, and you can come back if you can behave,
Mm,
and with respect, even if you disagree with them. So,
absolutely. Now, I've been finishing all of these episodes by asking what is your message, words of wisdom for somebody who is fresh into their process of deconstruction? They might have
mhm.
just left church or that first question is just intercepted. What would you say to them?
Welcome,
Welcome to the shit show.
welcome, welcome to my nightmare. No, yeah, put on
Uh,
your seatbelt and wear a helmet, but enjoy the view. I mean, there's nowhere you have to be. You know what? When you finally get to where you think you're supposed to be, you will realize you've been there the whole time.
yeah.
You're there. You're already there. There's no more effort. There's no more ought and must and shoulds.
Mm,
You're there. You're free. Enjoy the space. Enjoy the peace. And there's reach out to people. I'm really good at responding to people.
mm.
Sam, I bet you are. Like
Yep.
just reach out, find communities, join my Instagram account. Like there's but yeah, wear your seatbelt, wear a helmet. It can be bumpy, and I think a couple of the biggest pain points people experience when they are deconstructing is relationships. How
Mm,
do I navigate this now with my mom, my dad, my brothers, my sisters? Family and friends and all that kind of thing. And the other one is loneliness, which they're kind of related.
yeah.
But church has a corner on the market in providing instant community. And when you leave that, it feels like a huge vacuum. And it
Mm,
takes a while to learn how to find your balance again and learn how to be human and social.
yeah.
So the two big ones, but you can do it. I did it. Sam did it. Tons
Mm,
of people are doing it. And it doesn't have to be lonely though,
yeah.
and um, reach out to people.
Absolutely. There are communities out there. There are people
There
out.
are.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, my pleasure, Sam.
It's been
I
great.
enjoyed our conversation.
Absolutely. And if people have not seen, please jump over to Instagram to check out David's cartoons because they are fabulous. And I guarantee there is one for everybody that will speak to you and your story. And so doom scroll David's Instagram account
Yes.
until you find one, because I guarantee you will, if not more than one. So it's, it's a wonderful space, and some will make you laugh and some will make you cry and everything in between. So it's a really great space. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Beyond the Surface. I hope you found today's conversation as insightful and inspiring as I did. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who might benefit from these stories. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and more content. I love connecting with all of you. Remember, no matter where you are in your journey, you're not alone. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep moving forward. Take care.